And we are back. Listen, I'm gonna say this got to be the third time for the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
The Holy
Okay,
Ghost.
listen, because this here thing has been really trying to take us out. I hope y'all not hearing any more static. I'm trying to do my best here. Uh, Internet going down, stuff not working right. It's okay. We're going to get into this conversation. The previous two recordings that we have tried so far, Gary literally just introduced himself. And what we are really talking about, Gary, today is we are really just going to talk about your journey, right? Because this is about it happened in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I know you grew up in the church, definitely. I know you are an awesome praise and worship leader. I also know that you are truly. I remember when I first met you, and you were like, you know what? By this age, I'm gonna be preaching. And I believe you said it was about 13. 13, you said I'm gonna be preaching at the age of 13. I'm like, okay, dude, go ahead, get it. You know what I'm saying? And what I want to ask you is, what changed from then to where you are now, right? At that
Mm-hmm.
point, you were young, you were just impressionable, you were loving God, you had a zeal for God, you was just like you basically told us grown adults, I'm gonna be doing what y'all not doing.
Basically, yep,
Basically,
I
that's
did.
basically what you told us grown adults. You like basically, listen, what y'all not doing, that's what I'm gonna be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm gonna do this by the age of 13, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then what happened?
Well, see, it's that answer is complex because it's a lot has happened to get me to where the space I am at now, where I'm not only comfortable but conscious. Um, but back then, like you said, I did have a zeal for God, and I still do. But it was wavered a little bit. Like my faith was wavered. Everything was wavered. About when I got into the teenage years or like the preteens, was when I really started to understand things and see things for what they were, experience life, but just a little bit more, go through some things, because, even though around that age, and a lot of kids do go through things, not only as far as, spiritually, but also just physically and in the world naturally. People go through things. So, it kind of built me to open up my eyes to see certain things for what I thought that what they were. Um, so I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful for those things that have happened. To mold me into the person who I am today, as far as to handle more persecution and more other, in situations, because we don't ever stop with persecution, and we don't ever stop with, people having their own judgments and having things to say. But I'm just grateful to God that He gave me the ability to have thicker skin and to have a voice. And I may not use it all the time to His glory, bless the Lord. But um, I'm just grateful that He always has the chance to forgive me, and that's honestly
Mm-hmm.
what I'm grateful for. So I'm not perfect. I broadcast, and I promote not being perfect because nobody's perfect, and I promote being honest and being truthful because you never know who you might heal. So that's basically what the energy I'm giving today, and we can dive in because I just want this to help somebody else feel free about themselves, and this doesn't have to be only for preachers' kids or for people in the church, for just people in general who are trying to find their path onto healing within yourself. It's a long journey, but we all go through things, good, bad, or indifferent, to get us to where we can be comfortable.
So let's do that. Let's unpack your journey then.
Okay.
When would you say that your thoughts or your ideas began to shift? Like, at what point do you feel that, or what happened that began to change how you thought or how you felt?
Love happened. I did not know the. I did not. I thought growing up in the church, you enjoy the things that that happen when you're a kid. The vacation Bible schools, and you go to different places, and you do this and you do that, and that gives you a zeal for God, and it makes you want to have fun in God. You're like, oh, like God is fun, God is love, God is these things. You learn these things as you grow up, but then around, like I said, the preteen years, I just started noticing people just talking shit and just people just having things to say, and then people judging this person, and then but you smiling in this person's face, and then you talking about her at the family dinner, like it's just like it don't match up. So and I'm just saying that it's just as far as just in general, it's just I learned the art of being fake in church.
Wow.
I learned the art of masking your feelings in church. I learned the art of covering. I learned the art of no, it's don't do that, or sit down, or don't I learned the art of favoritism. I learned all these different things in the church because I grew up in it all my life. Like I was never a moment where I was not in vacation Bible school. It was never a moment where I was not with my mother going here, going there, going to this service, going to this deliverance service, going to revivals. Like don't get me wrong, I never really paid attention to these things, but I have paid attention to what I felt. You know what I mean? Not with everybody, not with the hype, what everybody think is the Holy Ghost. So that's what, yeah. That was a lot, but it's the truth.
No, but it makes sense. And I like what you said. You said you learned the art of being fake in the church. You learned the art
Yes.
of masking your feelings in the church. And you learned how to cover, and you learned favoritism in the church. And that's big. That's humongous, for the simple fact that we learn how to put on a mask in church. We learn how to mask our feelings. We learn how to mask our emotions. We learn how to even mask our thoughts. We also do learn favoritism, right? We learn who the favorite
Absolutely.
is, and because the favorite can do this and the favorite can do that. And,
you
know, or because 9 times out of 10, the favorite is the one that,
that's another one.
Come on, and the sneaky. Okay, we learn. And some of us learn how to be sneaky from the church, or we learn how to become sneaky,
No,
and
it's the truth.
and that's important, because it's like when you see all of these things happening, and at a very young age, it begins to shape your viewpoint.
Exactly.
And is that what happened to you? Like, you saw these things at a young age, at an impressionable age, and did it begin to like shape your viewpoint?
Yes, it began to shape. It definitely began to shape my viewpoint because, mind you, like I said before, you know, we're taught that all these things, fornication, backbiting, this, that, and the third, all these different things are horrible. But and we're supposed to be not of the world, but live in it. But when the world is in the church, it's so hard for you to even separate the two, because a lot of the things that we're not supposed to be doing are happening exactly right in the house of God. And it just started because, mind you, I used to be like, oh, you can't curse in the house of God, or you can't say that in the house of God. Oh, you can't be doing that. And all these things. Like I look down on people who would be pregnant and in the church and without no ring. Like I used to do all of that. I used to look down on people who smoked weed and doing all these different things because I was just taught that, oh, we're not like them. But literally, that's in the church. You got the musicians smoking, you got the pastor smoking, you got all these people. Like it's in the church. All these things that we're not supposed to be, or that we're supposed to be separated from. Like the Bible says, be ye separated, but ye not separated because ye all up in the church. So it's hard to differentiate between the two now, where masking comes into piece because we learn how to turn it on and turn it off.
Right.
That's where we learn. We learn how to, okay, well, when church, yes, we're gonna be prestige and we're gonna be holy and shying and fake crying. We're gonna do all of that, and we're gonna go off our emotions in the spirit, not feeling the spirit, but off our emotions, and then we're gonna do all of that. But it's just people. It's a shame because I looked at God I looked at God a different way in my teenage years, where my faith was there. I'm like, yo, God, like you allowing these things to happen in your name in church. And I'm like, God, like, if this is what it is, I might as well just be with the Prince of the Air. Like, just like, you feel me? Because that's just how I felt at one moment. But until I left the church, as far as not far as leaving the church, as far as not going, but left the idea of the judgmental behavior and all these things. When I left the church, the four walls of the building, I began to find God in a whole different way.
Now that speaks a lot, but let's go back just a little bit. So
Okay.
like you said, you learned like the masking and the covering.
Yes.
When you say covering, what exactly do you mean by covering?
Just the idea of you saying something and they're like, oh, well, we're gonna cover you in prayer and we're gonna let just God work this thing out. When some things we can just work out ourselves. You know what I mean? I just feel like the covering, or we need to cover our brother and cover our sister, but we're not really covering them. We're just, again, allowing their mask to be shined even more brighter. Because honestly, true deliverance and true healing and true all of these things, you have to get down to the nitty gritty, like, and all that. And I'm not saying for it to be broadcasted out or be spoke about on a wide or broadcasting. But if you have a relationship with somebody, as far as when it comes to a godly relationship or a spiritual mother or a spiritual father or a higher figure in the church that you respect because you respected their walk of God, when you have these these things that are in place, and then you begin to talk about it with them, they always talk about, oh, we're gonna cover you in prayer. But I want you to relate. I want you to I want you to be able to, tell me, okay, well, what is this to do? What is here to do? What is, I just feel like we have the idea of covering wrong. We always want to cover everything as far as when it comes to prayer, but a lot of things we have to cover when love and just understanding and being truthful about things. Because at the end of the day, we all weren't perfect. None of us are perfect. We all have had a past. So I just feel like, sometimes you have to dig from your past to help somebody else understand where your growth is now. So that's how I feel.
That makes sense. And it also would make sense as well to say that sometimes with the covering, we cover up the indiscretions of some and not all.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
cover up the secrets of some, but not all.
Oh,
So we pick and choose whose business we're going to actually tell.
mm-hmm.
And we pick and choose whose business we're actually going to cover.
Cover, right?
And I think that in and out of itself is very detrimental, because it's basically saying that, whoever I cover, that's who I'm applying grace to, but whoever I don't cover, I'm not applying, they're not getting nothing.
Right.
And that's very dangerous as well, for the simple fact that we then end up hurting more people than we do helping them. And a lot of the
Right.
times, even with the things that you mentioned, you learn how to be fake, masking feelings, covering favoritism, sneakiness and stuff like that. A lot of that goes into the reason why people end up leaving the four walls of the church. Because in something that, like you just said, something that you just said was so great. You said, summary, what you were seeing within the four walls didn't resemble God.
No, it didn't.
And when what I don't see within the walls of the church don't necessarily resemble God, it makes me question, like you said, God, you're allowing this? Like, this is okay for you?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if people understand that when you take your children to vacation Bible schools and these things like this, you have to understand these kids listen. Like, and when you are, like I said, kids are impressionable and children are impressionable, like you did say. So, and I feel the same way. Those things, like I said, you begin to start loving God because of all the things that He is. You know what I'm saying? But not what people portray Him to be in the church now. It's like it's just too much. So it's just like I don't. I just want to just share the message that kids really do listen to what people are saying as far as what God is. Like those songs that you sing to them and that they sing and present to the church on the Sundays after they learned it, they really mean those things and they understand those things. So when they get older and start to see what the things really are, as far as, the true lights of what goes on, there it's just confusing to them. So therefore they just want to
So let
leave.
me
And that was
ask you
just
this.
mhm.
What did you specifically begin to see that was different than what you were taught?
I got to see the it was more of the more judgmental pieces, because everybody is so quick to share their testimony. But the moment that somebody has the same testimony that they've been quote unquote delivered from, they feel like they have an obligation to drag and or harass them in a way where they feel like they're just nothing or less. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt in growing up in the church, as far as, and also not being good enough. That's a big one too. Not being good enough, or not, I guess, fitting in. I guess with the rest of how everything was, because I was always the black sheep. We know that, but um, I think that's what it is too, as far as feeling all those things. So I started to see a lot of backbiting and a lot of gossiping and a lot of things that the preacher on the pulpit is like, yeah, because gossiping is a slandering snake and all these different things. But yet, like, we was dead at the barbecue chopping it up about Sister Bun looking like she had too much to drink. Like, or we talking about her chicken and bad. We talking about all these different things. Like, and it's like, are we really supposed to be doing these things? And then you always adapt to what you're around. So then you're just like, also, if this is what it is, then like, like it's weird. It's weird. And also, like, I started to look at God like, yo, like, this is weird. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to be honest. Like, if Sister so and so's breath stink, let her know. Like, if you say it in a comfortable manner, you want to let the girl know. Like, I always felt the need to be honest and truthful about everything. But now, when I began to lie and learn the art of lying, was when they were like, "Oh, don't say that," or don't say this, or say it in a different way. No, I meant what I said. That's how I used to always get in trouble, because of my mouth. And oh God, you can hear, when I had enough. It just goes, and I don't even be thinking. So I felt like it's gotten a lot better, but things like that happen, and kids have a voice too, and it starts when you're a child. Like, that's the sad part, is that like when you start to grow up and see certain things. It starts when you're a kid, and that's the hard part.
So, what experience what experience did you have that kind of brought about the change in your perspective and in your viewpoint of literally going to church? Or I should say, or I might even say what experiences, because it might not be one, it might be like multiple experiences personally for you though.
Well, I was just certain conversations that were being having with me. I can if we can get to if you know what, we're gonna just spill the tea. We're taking them as a love. um just with certain things, as far as when it comes to being involved with other people in the church, and as far as not only talking, but mingling. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mingling, and a lot of seeing who's what or what is what. I believe the church needs their own dating app. um I feel like it's just a bunch of foolery, and it's a bunch of confusingness, and it's just not it. Um, I've had a lot of people try to approach me, who have been, who have walked very close, into my vicinity and into my circle. So when I would
Mm-hmm.
see, when I would see things like that, those specific things would make me question, what the fuck? Like, oh no, that's not it. So it would just be that.
When you say they would try and, I don't know, like get close to you, what do you mean by that?
Um, it was just a lot of talk as far as, not on my end, because I don't tolerate that, especially I don't tolerate any of those things. But just as far as, just a lot of sexual things, very,
Mm.
very, very inappropriate things. And I
From
can talk
women
about it.
or from men?
No, it was more of the men, honestly.
Mm.
Honestly, yeah, it was more of them. Very, very, very bold. Just bold and open and out. I just never really, and you see people, like I said, you grow up respecting, and you grow up seeing these preachers and seeing these bishops and seeing all these people to be high and to be so holy and to be so, you emulate and you want to be like, wow, I want to get there. You see, them giving back, and you see them doing the things apparently, according to the Bible. But then when you get to know the real them, it's a whole different story. You know what I mean? When the mask
Yeah.
is unrevealed.
When the mask comes off and the
Right.
truth comes out
And the
and the
truth comes
light
out.
is and the light begins to shine.
Yeah.
And I know, and you know what? And I could definitely understand what you're saying, because basically, as a woman, being a woman in the church, and
And
you
it's a
being a
woman
man
too.
in the church,
Hmm.
we see a lot of different things and we feel a lot of different things. And when someone can approach us in a sexual manner and you're supposed to be a leader, you might not be my leader, but you're a leader somewhere, right?
Hmm.
That can begin to taint your view of even leadership, right? And then
Right.
it can also begin to cause you to wonder or cause you to question the legitimacy of their calling.
Absolutely. A hundred
Mhm.
percent. 100%. I can
And
see that.
yeah, and then it turns into a ripple effect of questioning even God. God, this is your leader, and this is what your leader is doing. Your leader, me, I'm like, if I'm you, me, I'm this young man, and you mean this man is approaching me,
Hmm.
but he just prayed over the whole church
Yep. And over me.
and
Let's talk
over
about it.
me, okay? Tried to lay hands on me, but then
Lay
after, but then
hands,
after,
okay?
mhm.
Mm.
But then afterwards, here he is trying to approach me sexually. How
Yeah.
does how and you begin to question, like you said, and you begin to see that these things are not adding up. Like, this doesn't add up.
It's not. It doesn't add up. And I don't. And also, I just want to just say this. That this is not an attempt to expose anyone. This is not an
No,
attempt to gain a following, because to be honest, I've always been upfront, honest about everything. You can check my page and anything I put my platform where I promote honesty and love. So this is not a situation. I'm doing this so that way I can help anybody. I don't care who you are, gay, straight, bi, whatever it is, whatever that you have going on, that it's okay to talk about it, and you're not alone, and everything that glitters is not gold, baby. It's not. So, you know, it's not. So, and I have a very great life. I have a very great set of parents. I have a very great set of family members who are always been supportive and who always set the mark for me to aim higher for certain things. So I'm grateful for them. But a lot of things, we feel like we can deal with ourselves. Um, as far as, going through the things of, the things in the church, and a lot of things, we like to mask and cover because we don't want to create that tension, you know what I mean, or that animosity, you know what I mean.
well, it's frowned upon, and it's when you don't speak about it, you know what I'm saying, and when you ignore it, and when you mask it, and when you cover it, you're praised for that. This
Right.
person, you didn't tell this, and you covered, and all the other extra stuff. And then when you actually do speak about it, and you actually do put truth to power, and you actually do voice what actually did happen, you're then ostracized, and
Right.
you're basically treated as if you are an outsider because you expose the truth. And the truth of the matter is that there's no right or wrong way. You cannot tell me that there is no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus, and then condemn me for telling the truth of what happened when I was where you were, right? You can't also tell me that I cannot speak on actual facts, not made up stuff, but actual facts of what happened to me, and then tell me, and then tell me I need to give a testimony. Well, if I can't testify to what is real, then what do you want me to testify to?
Right.
Because
And
part of
and I feel like that's the issue. I said the Bible says that we are overcomers by we are overcomers by that.
we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So if that is the truth, then why is it that we attempt to muzzle everyone that tries to come forward and tell their testimony
and speak about it? Because those things honestly are worth talking about. People kill themselves, and people literally sit there and hold that and bottle all that stuff in. That is not only painful, but people need help as far as going through reality. We think that I know how I thought at one point. Yeah, I can handle it on my own. It's fine. I can take it. I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take that. And it drove me insane because it's like, I'm going through all these things and I'm seeing it right in front of my face. And I was always taught to be quiet. I was always taught to just shut up because, mind you, I always had a voice here. We know each other personally, so I always had a voice. But every single time I used it, to a point where it was real or too real, because I've always been real. I've never been, a person to always mask how he felt. I learned the habit to do that from the church, but I was always born with that gift to just speak out openly. So, it's just people just you're always told to be quiet, and you're always told to just shush and shush and shush, or you can't talk about that, or you can't speak about this, or you can't, oh, that's not the time right now for that, not the time right now for this. But when is the time?
Right. When is the time? Well, the time is now, which is why I started the Muzzle Is Off podcast, for the simple fact that I believe that it is important to give people a voice that ordinarily would not have had a voice, in order to voice and speak and say exactly how they feel, exactly what happened to them, give their opinion on other subjects, other topics and stuff like that. And by no means is this topic for this month saying it's in the church. Is it a means to bash the church? Absolutely not. Because the truth of the matter is I love God and I love his church. What I don't like and what I don't appreciate is what has taken place in some churches, because it's not all, it's some.
Yeah, it's some.
That has literally harmed people, hurt people.
And it's hard.
And
it's hard to recruit. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and also the truth of the matter is have turned people away from God, because that's just what's real. You know what I'm saying? And people act like, oh, well, God didn't do nothing to you. You can't be mad at God. Well, listen, we're not saying God did anything, but the truth of the matter is that if you're telling me you're an agent of God, and you're telling me that you're employed by God, and this is how you're acting, then no, I have a problem with you and God, because I'm trying to understand, how did you employ such a person? And if we take it in modern terms, right? People are now, if you do something that is outrageous, outlandish, right?
Right.
If you do something that people deem to be extremely racist, right? What do they do? They are going to your employer.
Yes.
And they're bringing it to your employer, and they're saying it to your employer. Why is this person, who's a representative of you and your brand and your company, why is this person allowed to say boom, boom, boom? But when it comes to the church, it's like, you have nowhere to go.
You don't.
Because if I try to talk to the one who made them, whoever they're supposed to be, that gets shut down. I can't even talk to, you're telling me that, okay, well, I can talk to God about it, but when I don't see anything happening, I just need to sit, wait, be patient, be quiet, and just wait on the Lord. That's what I need to do? No. Because when I begin to, and that's one of the things that I started to tell people. I said, if the Bible,
right.
So therefore, you silencing me is not the right instruction of the Lord. So I'm sitting here mad at God because I'm saying, God, well, God, you they employer, you employed them, you employed them. God is saying, no, I didn't employ them. You employed them. You, the people, employ them. And you, the people, need to do something about these ones in whom you have employed. And we sitting here like, well, we got to be quiet because the church say we got to be quiet. And the church say that they got grace and mercy. And the church say that they do this. And the church say, touch not mine anointing to do my prophet no harm. And the church say, I can't speak against this one and that one. And the church say, and so we sit up here believing all of this falsehood because it's a lot of BS. It's false, it's BS, and it literally is hidden in a whole bunch of doctrine and rhetoric that has nothing to do with God, in order to keep people that are out of order in church.
And then also, what I don't like either is, and whoever it is, whether it be a bishop or pastor, can have multiple people who they're speaking to in the church, and then those people come together and have a little I bind that in the name of Jesus. I don't like that. And we're not about to be a family in this shit either. No, and no, because honestly, and I remember, in your book that you spoke about that, when you were going through your situation, you spoke about that, and as far as being amongst the fuckery, being amongst it, and knowing that you're amongst it, and yet just limiting yourself to be comfortable in that. And the devil's a liar. And
Right.
no. So, I feel like, for you, doing the Muzzle Is Off, and for you doing all these things, you've inspired people like me to speak about these things and open up, because honestly and truly, we never know who we're helping. Because listen, we're looked at as PKs, as supposed to be these perfect people. Well, not really perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but these people who have such a standard, and we can't do this, and we can't do that, and we can't, we're regular people. We are put on this pedestal that we did not ask for. I was born into this. I did not ask to be a part of Green Pastors Baptist Church and then to transfer to New Life about a Living Center. I did not ask for anything of these nations. This is just what happened. This is what was learned. This is what was practiced behavior. Hop here, hop there. Do this, do that. Don't do this, don't say that. Sing this way, don't sing that way. It was always such a comparison. And then I began to look at myself like, all right, well, am I good enough for God? Because y'all telling me to be myself and be me. And when I give you me, it's too much. That's too feminine. That's too this. That's too that. So you begin to doubt yourself, and you begin to change who you are, because you feel like, well, if the leaders who are supposed to be employed by God don't think I'm good enough, then God must think I'm shit. You think like that, and that's horrible. And this is real talk. It's real. You begin to think like that, and it was a point where I was like, yo, I don't even. I was still. I was like, I'm over the church. I don't even want to go.
So, where are you at today with that? Do you still feel the same way?
I do feel the same way as far as what goes on, but I know how to filter a little bit better now. I learned how to get away from people and to just stay with the message. The message is Jesus Christ. That's the message. Everything else that people do is not my concern. My concern is to chase the Father and only Him. So anybody else, and I had to learn that. I had to learn that God's name is not associated with this fuckery. We've did that. We've associated God's name with all this foolishness, and God is not even in half of the things that we doing. So I had to learn that, and I had to open up my eyes and see that, God is so much bigger than these four walls. God is so much bigger than these things. God is so much bigger than hate and anger and gossip and all these things. And I don't and we're representing God in the church, and we're doing these things, and that's horrible. And that's why when the Bible says, let's go be fisher of men, we can't, because the fish that we bring in is rotten. Okay, because it's just and nobody, and I've said this on my live plenty of most. I said we've made God clockable, and that's horrible. We've made God clockable. We've made God to be this shady character. We've made God to be these things, and His name is not even none of this, and none of it. And I had to really find out who God was all over again. I had to find out who Jesus was all over again. I had to sit down and read the Bible for myself and look into things. I'm like, yo, like, yeah, God was a strict God, but he forgave and he loved and he nurtured and he walked. And as many times as we fell short, he gave us another chance to do it again. Like, he died for me. Like, that's love. Like, God wasn't on the cross talking about, yeah, I'm sitting here dying for sister so and so because she done had this and had that. No. That's not what he did. That's not what he did. He took all of our burdens. He said, "Listen, I'm ready to die for my children," and that's what it is. And I feel like we should have that energy in the church. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we should have that morale. You know, that substance. We need that because more than ever, we need to come together instead of being straying apart. And that's the biggest issue in church is people's fucking mouth. It's just that's one of the biggest issue is everybody has something to say, and everybody wants to judge, and it's and nobody's relatable. You know, nobody's saying, you know what, I've been through that, and I understand what you're going through, but you don't have to stay there forever. You know, those type of things was the things that got me to understand how God is, for somebody to really take me under their wing. You know what I mean? The right way. Okay.
Yeah, the right way.
The right way. Take me under the wing the right way and show me, you know, yes, you make her a bitch out. But you know what? God gonna listen. He gonna fix that. Just continue to pray. Continue to like, you know, those things work. They do. I'm just thinking that fasting was just, we supposed to do it because, you know, we at the shut in. You know, we can't eat this. Like, we've learned the routine of everything, but we don't really know what it means.
Right.
You know, we don't really know what we're doing because it's so routine. Like, why am I taking the body and the blood? Why am I fasting? Why am I praying? Why am I doing these things? You don't learn that until you leave the church, and that's sad.
Or sometimes, I mean, depending upon where you're at, you will learn it, you know, within, if you're within that level of a structure. But when you're not within that level of a structure and you're left to fend for yourself, and, you know, you begin to be hurt, you begin to be offended, you begin to be misused, abused. Spiritual abuse is a very real thing, and it's something that we don't necessarily talk about. It's something that we don't necessarily understand in its totality. But oftentimes, when people do or say things in order to get you to do or say something, and they begin to manipulate you spiritually, that is what is called spiritual abuse. You know, you cannot use manipulation of the word of God in order to get me to do something that you want me to do.
Right.
Come back, and then when I realize that this is a manipulation, and then you tell me, no, it's not. No, it is.
It is. It very much so is.
And I think oftentimes that because we don't recognize it, because it's cloaked in what we think is the Bible, we don't begin to recognize the actual damage that it actually can cause. And, you know, one of the things, even for myself, that I had to learn is sometimes, not even sometimes, I can't heal in the place that broke me. And healing had to take place outside the church because I could not heal within the church.
Right.
Because it
never stops. It never stops.
Well, yeah, but also because when you're hurt, a lot of the times you see things through that lens of your hurt, right? So I can't commune with you. I can't fellowship with you because I'm hurt by you. Right. So that's like me being abused, right? Let's say I'm being physically abused, but I'm expecting my abuser to heal me. That's not going to happen. It's not going to work like that. You know what I'm saying? My healing has to come from outside of the place of abuse. And I had to leave the church in order to be healed fully by God.
Exactly. By God.
By God. Because my healing didn't happen just by Nakia. No, my healing happened by God, but it had to happen outside the four walls of the church. in order for me to be able to return back to the church and not see it and not view it through the lens of hurt and pain and anger and resentment, because that's not and also the reason being is because that's not God and that's not who he is. So if that's not who God is and that's not what he is, then I don't want to be the one to view his building, his church, his people, right? Because when we talk about the church, we're talking about the structure of the church. So we're talking about the actual physical place of the building.
Mm-hmm.
But when we also talk about the church, we also have to talk about the people. We are the church, the people. Yeah. This is who we are. We make up the body. So we are the church. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes the body is reflective of its life.
Come on here. Absolutely.
So if the body is living a messy life, then that's what's going to be reflective in the church, right?
Absolutely.
But it also takes strong leaders to not live the same type of life as the body.
Absolutely. Because, and I feel like that's where it starts.
And it does, because when the leaders' lifestyle do not reflect that which is good, then everything trickles down into the body. And you wonder why you got a whole bunch of hellraisers in your church. And then you wonder why you got a whole bunch of mess in your church. Because 9 times out of 10, that's just like me being born. Like when they say the apple don't fall far from the tree. Well, okay, leaders, then these apples that are being produced from your tree.
Yes, from your tree.
With this fruit.
Right.
That you're bearing. Because these are your children. These are the ones that have studied under you, so to speak. And see, and now, truth be told, let's fast forward this, because now we have a whole bunch of people that are being consecrated into the episcopacy,
mm-hmm.
and all they need to do is pay the right person.
Yes.
And this is where I'm going to be. Now I'm bishop. Now I'm overseer. And it's like, okay, but where's your fruit?
Nowhere.
And we're not examining fruit. You understand? And then because we're not examining fruit, people are getting hurt. People are getting turned away. People are getting turned off. And we can't keep saying that, well, the problem ain't the church. It is the church.
The problem has always been listen. The problem has, I feel like now, like this, I don't know what this new church is. You know what I mean? As far as like, or what this new narrative is as far as church, but none of this new stuff has to do with God. And honestly, it's broadcasted, it's celebrated, and it's horrible. God is not in any of this. And like I said, it's hard to, it's hard to live a life like God. And it's even hard to be a PK sometimes, because they're like, oh yeah, your dad's a pastor, he got money. Or your dad's this, your dad's that, or he's this and he's that. It's just like all those things that the church on a wider scale have done, and have, it's always trickled down to the people who really do, love the Lord, and who really are serving him the right way. And it's horrible here, and it's not okay. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of people are dying, Kia. It's sad. A lot of people are just turning away from God all in itself, like not even giving him a chance to really, like, show them who he is. Because we have been so hurt and beaten and battered and spiritually abused. And once your spirit is crushed, everything else is done. And it's hard to get it back. It's hard to get your spirit for God back. It's hard.
I would definitely agree. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of crying. It takes a lot, because I don't believe that people fully understand the damage that they cause people.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes everyone wants to use the excuse, oh, well, everybody's human. The the human aspect of yourself should know how not to hurt other people. If you're
Absolutely.
human, right? I don't wake up every day thinking, you know what, I'm going to hurt this person today.
Right.
Also, if for some odd reason I do offend someone or hurt someone, I don't just blow that off and be like, oh, well, that's between them and their emotions because I said what I said and this, that, and the third. No. 9 times out of 10, I have a level of self-reflection to where if I recognize that I hurt somebody, I can go back to them and be like, you know, I apologize if that hurt you. Because that, not if that hurt you, because that hurt you, that definitely was not my intention. And I apologize for blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what begins to happen, and the reason why we have such a culture of people that are so broken is because no one goes back.
No. But can you
Everyone
you can't.
Continues to cover what they've done as opposed to admitting, yo, I did this, I messed up, I'm sorry, I did not mean to hurt you, I was wrong, and let's move on and let's move forward.
Right.
But we have an issue with admitting our own faults, and we have an issue with truly understanding our own faults. You know what I'm saying? But that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about that this month with It's in the Church, because whatever your it is, it's there.
It's there.
Whatever your it is, it's there.
It's there.
And it's not and it's not hidden. So it's there. You know, and oftentimes we don't like to talk about our it's, okay? But it is there. You know what I'm saying? There are people that have been sexually abused in the church. It is there. There are people that have been molested in the church. It is there. There are people that have been raped in the church. It is there. There are people that have been had things stolen from them in the church. It is there. Like all of this stuff, anything that you could think of that could possibly happen to you,
cheaters,
in the
domestic violence,
all of it
in the church.
Adultery in the church, fornication in the church. Children out of wedlock in the church. And guess what? And I'm not saying that it's all bad, right? Because we are human beings living in this world. Okay. And there are things that we're going to face. There's nothing wrong with that. But what becomes wrong when you're it in the church then gets flipped, twisted, and turned around into it then hurting you in the church, and it then causing you pain in the church, and it then causing you shame in the church, and it then causing you to be muzzled in the church. Those are the things that's wrong. Because you have a right to speak about whatever your it is. If somebody wronged you in the church, you have a right to speak about it. And they cannot use the scripture and say, touch not mine anointed and do my prophet no harm. Guess what? I'm anointed by God. And you did me wrong, and you touched me. Hello. And those are the things that we only want to apply certain scriptures to certain leaders, but we don't want to apply it to ourselves and act like they're the only ones that are eligible. You know what? Because you the bishop, you the pastor, you the evangelist, and you know what? And first lady's not even a title, so I'm not even going to say that one.
No.
You the teacher, you the this. So this only applies to you, but it don't apply to me. No, the Bible was very clear. So guess what? And because the Lord good and anointed my mouth to speak, therefore I'm going to continue to speak and bring truth to power and say, no, this happened, but this should not be allowed. Let me tell you something, all jokes aside. I'm very vocal about what happened to me in the church. And the reason why I'm very vocal about it is because people literally try to shut me up.
Right.
They literally try, just don't know, just know, act like it didn't happen. The devil is a liar. I'm not going to act like nothing didn't happen when something actually did happen. And the fact that you refuse to do anything about what happened is the more reason why I'm going to keep talking about it happened. Because I know it makes people so uncomfortable when I talk about what happened. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what I want everybody. I want people to feel empowered this month. If whatever your it is, if it happened, I want you to talk about it and tell me like, if you want to talk about it openly, I can go live every single day if I have to. And I will. And I will because I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel you know what I'm saying, uplifted. I want you to feel encouraged. And I don't want you to ever walk around with your head held down in discouragement and in shame and in guilt because it happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Gary, I say the same thing to you. You should not feel discouraged, shamed, guilted, or anything like that, because what happened to you is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Okay? Unacceptable. You're not going to preach in the pulpit and act like you want to lay hands on me and speak over me and all this other extra foolery, deliver me or whatever, and then you are part of the issue of the deliverance. The devil is a liar.
Mm-hmm.
That is an abuse that is spiritual abuse.
It is.
That really is what that is, spiritual abuse. And for any man or woman that has done that to anybody in the church, shame on you. That is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. It's horrible.
It is, but it's time that we stop being so scared to speak truth to power, because this happens.
It does. And, you know, when is somebody going to just talk about it? When is somebody going to empower the next person that it's okay to speak about it? Because even now, like it's always some new headline of of a preacher doing this or a bishop doing this or it's just so much. And it's and the time where we need to be coming to God is just pushing us further and further and further away. And that's why I always encourage people to know God for yourself. Like, really truly study and really truly know him for you. Because once you know him for you, I'm telling you, you have a whole different experience. And no, you're not gonna get it right all the time. You're not.
You're
And it's
not.
okay.
None of us are.
It's okay. And it's okay. And, you know, like, you just got to keep getting back up and keep fighting that race. It's not an easy journey to get to a level of healing. It's not. It takes a minute, and it takes some longer than others, some shorter than others. But I'm telling you, but everybody who has been through this or has been through anything knows that it's a journey in and out. It is. And, you know, it's hard, but you have the power to overcome. You know what I mean? And to really hone in on who you are, and don't let those things define who you are.
What about those that are struggling with acceptance? Because I know you said you struggle with acceptance. What about that?
Acceptance.
What message would you have for a person that literally struggles with acceptance? You know, yeah, with acceptance.
What would I say? Because I'm still dealing with that even now. I'm very far in what I have
No, but that's
accomplished.
honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, of course. I'll just be transparent and be very honest. As far as being accepted, musically, or being accepted, just in the world general, it's it's a journey, and you get wow. um, it's finding yourself is hard. Accepting yourself is hard. Loving yourself when you're taught that yourself is not good enough is even harder too. But you have to really, really, really honestly break away from your feelings of what everything is and really get in tune to yourself. Sit with yourself. Accept yourself first before you try to have anybody else accept you. Love who you are. Love all the aspects of you. Tell yourself that I am accepted for who I am, and be yourself. Whatever yourself may be, however you may feel, however you may, whatever you're going to, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who has an issue or a problem, and it takes a minute to get there to where you accept yourself. It does. And like I said, I don't have the rule book or the plan book, but I know for me, it was honestly sitting with myself and loving each part of me. Like, I love the fact that I know how to sing. I love the fact that God loves me even though I go through what I go through. I love the fact that I'm outspoken. I love the fact that I'm these things, but I also love the fact that I can learn the ability to control these things. I can learn the ability to do things like, and also accept the fact that you have to learn some things too, growing up. As far as in this whole acceptance thing, learn yourself and learn what things to address and not to address. Learn what things to say and what things not to say, because there's also some things not to say, and I have to. Yeah, I'm still working on that portion of that too, but it's just it's a learning process for everybody. It's a learning process, and either way, you're gonna have to deal with yourself. When you leave this earth, you go with yourself and by yourself. Nobody goes with you. Sister so and so who hurt you don't go with you. Mother so and so who said this don't go with you. You go with you. So you need to be comfortable with who you are before you expect somebody else to be comfortable with who you are.
Well, then you said it. Then learn to be comfortable with who you are before you expect others to be comfortable with who you are. And that will begin to open the doors of your accepting of yourself and not caring whether other people accept you or not.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Because I'm
it
here,
takes a
because I'm
minute to get
kicking in this
there.
door.
Period. Boom pow.
Boom and pow. I'm kicking in this door.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know what? We are almost at our good hour, which is great. Although we had a lot of our good technical difficulties in the beginning, and I thank you for bearing with me with these technical difficulties. Hopefully next week we won't have any internet issues because Comcast, Xfinity will get their life together.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't understand. Like, the storm was over yesterday. I'm still dealing with the after effects today. It makes absolutely no sense.
It's a
But
shame what's going on.
yeah, this is an atrocity. This is ridiculous. But thank you, Gary. I was about to call you Duke. But thank you, Gary, for being open, being honest, concerning your experience, concerning everything that you saw, concerning what you learned, and how you basically had to unlearn it, which was learn God for yourself and
That's
know
what I was
God
going
for
to say.
yourself and study his word for yourself in order to not continue in what you were seeing and in what you were
Exactly.
experiencing. And that's monumental to me. I can say the same thing for myself. I really, like you said, I wrote about it, I said it, and I'm going to stand with what I said. There are a lot of things that when you marry someone in ministry that you then become success. What's the word I'm looking for? That you become a party to.
Right.
And you become a party to it just by the association of whom
Right.
you're with. And although you might say different things privately, but publicly, you have to stand with whatever the heck is going on.
What's going
And
on?
I have learned that even publicly, I don't have to stand with nothing. Because if I don't agree, I don't agree. And you're not going to force me into a level of agreement with you because this is an atrocity.
Exactly.
And I literally had to learn that because sometimes you can allow it to suck you in to this black hole of fakeness and covering and favoritism and sneakiness, and all of that stuff is not within the character of God. So therefore it should not be within the character of his children.
It shouldn't. And
No,
I'm
it
just so
shouldn't.
grateful that you are, shining a light on people on these things, so that way they can be addressed, because nobody wants to talk about these things. Nobody wants to have these conversations, because the people who are preaching against what the good old good book has to say or whatever, are the ones practicing it good old well every Tuesday at Club Shignig with the swingers and everything. So I had to throw a little bit of shade in there. But yeah, so I'm just huh. So I'm just trying to level shy.
Oh,
But I'm just grateful that you're shining a platform on it. And I just want to say this to anybody out there too. Don't, like I said, don't be afraid to speak about these things. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Of course, respect your privacy, whatever you want to be out there. You're responsible for what you put out there. So always be careful. But um, be just be mindful, and also know that whatever you put out there, be prepared, because a lot of people are not in a space to where they want it to be called out or talked about. So just always mentally prepare yourself. But you know, whoever that confidant person is that you know that you can speak to about the things that you're going through and the things that you're experiencing, talk to them. You know, just there's somebody out there for everybody to, you know, to be able to be heard. And I know there have been so many people who are so many gospel singers. Okay, let's talk about it. Gospel singers, people are out there, bishops who are out there even now who have been through the same thing as far as somebody trying to sexually abuse them or touch them, and they're just and it's just it's repeated and repeated and repeated, and they sing the good old riff. They can riff, run, holler, scout, scoot, all that, but deep down they're hurting because they never had a person to sit there and listen to them and how they felt. So that's why I always encourage to, you know, for somebody to just always speak about what you feel, because I'm telling you, bottling it in is the worst thing you can ever do. So always be encouraged. I want people to be encouraged to know that you're more than what you've been through. You are a king, you are a queen, whatever you are going through, I'm telling you, it's gonna work out for the good eventually.
Eventually, as you take this road to healing. That's why I the subtopic was road to healing. And the reason being is because healing is a process, and we all heal in stages. I'm not going to wake up one day and magically just be, oh, I'm healed. No, I'm going to go through my process of healing, you know, and part of that process is between me and God. Part of that process is between me and other people, those that God has strategically put into our life in order to help us to heal even the more. So we're on this road to healing because it truly is a road. It's a road, and and truth be told, it's a never-ending road, because we're always healing, we're always growing, we're always maturing. So this is the road that we're on.
Sometimes you have to grow in silence as well, because that was my issue. I wanted to grow publicly, and then that's what got me hurt. You know, expressing how I felt. But too many people who then would use that to manipulate me to get what they wanted, and get and so, you know, sometimes you have to grow silently. Sometimes you have to
grow you have to discern whom you can speak to.
Yes, right. You know, basically like that. You know, so always be mindful of who you speak your feelings to. You know, and pray for God to give you the discernment, because I know a lot of times, you know, when we go through things like this, we're vulnerable and we don't know what to do, and that's okay. And if you made a mistake, it's fine. We've all made mistakes. But you know, I'm telling you, you will overcome. You will, trust me. If I can do it, and I'm not, you know, I haven't said everything I've been through on this live. I have not. So I'm telling you, everything that glitters is not gold. I know that you guys see the church and you guys see everything, you know, as far as what goes on, but we have real lives besides this church stuff. We have real lives, and we go through real things, and you know, it needs to be unmasked, because we're not perfect people. You know what I mean? And God is working on us just like He's working on the rest of the people who are in the world today. So we are no different. You know, we still go through things. So you are no different than anybody else. I don't care what people try to say about you. You are allowed to go through things. You are allowed to mess up. You are allowed to do these things. You know what I mean? But you just have to grow from it. You're not allowed to stay there, though. You got to grow from it.
And I think that's the key. The key is that everyone is allowed grace enough, right? Because that's how you learn. You know, one of the things, like, my mother couldn't shield me from everything, so I had to learn through growing pains, right?
Right.
And we have to learn that we can't be everybody's God. Like some things you just need to learn with your growing pains. And you know, but what I will say is that as a leader, you don't have the option to fall the way a lay member falls.
Right.
You don't have that option. And the reason being is because before you were made that leader, you should have gone through the majority of your growing pains. And what's happening is that you have leaders that have not gone through their growing pains, and for some odd reason, they've become these leaders, and now they're bleeding and hurting over the people until they've gone through their growing pains. And then they want you to understand that, well, that was a rough season in my life. You know, I was still growing. Well, you probably should have stepped your little non-grown self down from wherever you was at, got you together, and then decided to leave. Like that one thing I don't do, and that was like, even after everything happened with me, everybody's like, well, you're still a pastor, you're still this. I said, no, I'm Nakia and I'm hurt. And what I'm not about to do is pastor a bunch of people hurt. So it took me being mature enough.
Nothing.
And they really don't. Listen, I'm Nakia, and I don't pay that stuff no attention.
When you go in front of them if you meet the pearly gates, okay. When you go in front of that good old Jesus Christ, he's not gonna call your name by pastor this, pastor that. He's gonna say,
no, he's gonna say Nakia.
Exactly. So all these pastors, like, that's what I'm saying. We are human people. We have emotions. We are human, and it's okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But to hold a position and a title in the church, you must operate in that position and that title with a level of integrity, and morality. I had enough integrity to know that I was hurting and I was not fit to do that job, because I refused to do it while bleeding all over people.
I'm on here bleeding on people
to the point where every message that I would preach would be tainted to my hurt, right? Because that's what a lot of people, that's how you throw shade in your messages. You
sure do.
Right. You piss me off, so therefore I'm going to add this shade in this message, in this word, because you made me mad.
They do it all the time.
But it's wrong, because that's not a message from God, right? So my whole thing is that it takes a level of integrity and maturity to actually be a leader. And it also takes a level of integrity and maturity to be a leader, to know when, you know what, I need to step down
and find yourself.
Fine. Okay. And I think that is another aspect of, where we're going to go with this whole thing of it's in the church, because oftentimes we have people that don't want to operate like that. And that's perfect. And guess what? And they don't have to, right? Because in this world, God gave us the ability to make choices. But with your choices, you have to understand that there's always going to be a repercussion to it. So you might want to sit up there and be a plumb fool, fornicating, adulterous, lying, stealing, cheating, domestic abuser, all that type of stuff. You might want to be there in the church, but it's going to take us to say, I'm not following you.
Yep.
And I don't want no parts of that, and that's what this road to healing is about. Because a lot of the times when you're not healed, you're still drawn to the mess. But when you're healed, you're no longer drawn to the mess. And you're free from the mess. And the mess actually will literally leave such a distaste in your mouth that you can't even stomach the mess. Because that's where I'm at. My healing had to take place, and to the point where God had to literally change my viewpoint and say, daughter, I don't even want you to tolerate or stomach the mess. And when you smell it, when you feel it, I want you to call it out. And people get angry with me all the time for calling out. Oh, you sound like you're bitter against the church. You sound like this. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not bitter against anybody's church.
It's not bitterness. It's awareness.
It's awareness, and I'm going to tell the truth. So if you say something that is not biblically sound, I'm going to say that that's not sound. And if you get upset about it, oh well. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all really running around here, got people believing that they've been having sex with demons in their sleep. The devil is a liar. Like, you're crazy. And I'm not going to ascribe to that foolery. You know what I'm saying? You done picked up something out of Greek mythology and out of ancient tribal beliefs and turned it into Bible. No, that is not biblical. And I don't care who wrote a book about it. It's still not biblical. But we do a lot of things and we say a lot of things, and what we fail to understand is how we're literally leaving people bound to these things, to the point where some people that really feel that they've been having sex with demons in their sleep actually have had suppressed traumatic sexual trauma that they have not dealt with and that they have not faced. But you keep telling them they having sex with demons, so they keep praying to God for God to remove a damn demon in their sleep, and really and truly they need a therapist and probably a pill so that they can begin to sleep peacefully at night, so that they can unpack their sexual trauma. we are allowing people to hurt, and I don't want to allow anyone to hurt anymore. That's where I'm at. I don't want to allow anyone to hurt anymore, because
no more.
We've been hurting enough, and now we are into a phase of healing and restoration. I do believe that there is a great restoration that is taking place even right now in the church, which is why people are beginning to go back. There is a huge cry and a huge thirst for the true church of God, where there is restoration, where there is healing, where there is deliverance, where there is love, where there is peace, where there is joy. Because when you go to a church that takes that away from you, you took my joy, you took my peace, you took my hope. What in the world do I have to look forward to?
Right.
So now I have to find this joy. I have to find this peace. I have to find this love. And I got to find it and heal from it outside the four walls until the Lord can live. Truth be told, if people really studied the good word the way they say they do, then they would understand that even in the book of Jeremiah, God talks about all of that.
He does.
Where he literally had to put the people in a place of hiding, and then told them, then I will show you a place where you could go. We don't understand that.
No.
People really think that, well, you left the church because the Lord told me to. Do you really think that you're going to sit here and keep hurting me, keep abusing me, keep using me, and think I need to sit here and deal with you? No, I do not.
No.
But the Lord will send me to a place when he knows I'm ready. He will show me where to go. And then my healing will still continue. And I'm going to be great.
Absolutely.
And I'll be able to tell of the story. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I tell people all the time, I don't bash the church. What I do talk about is this man-made church. I talk about that. I talk about the church.
We're bashing the things that God is not in, that the church has made God to be. That's what we're doing. And we are destroying that narrative. And people do not like it. People do not like that we're destroying that narrative, because they think that if they put God onto it, that they can control the people. And that is no. So we are destroying that narrative and putting the true narrative in. So people need to open their eyes and understand that.
Right. Because the narrative that truly is being destroyed is the narrative that a lot of these man-made churches have been built on, in the foundations of them. Exactly. And the truth of the matter is that when you begin to unravel the truth, right? When you begin to unravel the truth, you begin to see that this clearly was never even built on the solid rock.
No. It wasn't built on no solid ground. It's sinking sand.
And keep singing that song and wondering why your churches is dwindling. Well, it's because you have not been built on the true foundation.
No.
Okay?
And also your church or whatever can be built on the true foundation. But when you get into all the foolery and the effery and all the stuff like that, you begin to dwindle and you begin to take it. It doesn't become the substance that it was. So that's where a lot of the times that it starts to happen, is where you're
now that's the truth. And I have wrote a post about that. I said, when the church loses its sound, it loses its purpose. And the truth of the matter is that, and that when truth be told, when the church truly loses its sound, is because it's being drowned out by distractions of things that are not even of it. And the truth of the matter is that we the people, because we are the church, so therefore we control the sound. So therefore, when we begin to be focused on other things and we begin to do other things and we begin to shift and change the sound in the house, you've already lost your purpose.
You have.
And that is one of the things that it is very hard to get back. It is very hard for the church to get back its sound without completely tearing down and rebuilding.
Absolutely.
And I'm just here to be the one to say that some of y'all need to tear down and rebuild, because you've lost your sound. You've been so consumed with making money. You've been so consumed with trying to get people just getting any old body in these seats. You want to consecrate this one and do this one and do that one. All of it has a lot to do with money and running the church as a business. And I do believe that when we began to run the church as a business and we forgot about the souls of the people, that is when we began to lose the sound of the actual church and the purpose of the church. The purpose of the church, capital C church, you know what I'm saying, which is the entire body as a whole. And I really want to see us get back to that. And that's why I think it's time that we talk about what's in the church so that we can get that out the church and so that we can begin to heal and repair an entire body of people so that we can all then go ye therefore spreading what? The gospel, the good news. Yeah. But you can't spread good news and you're full of crap. Like that don't even make right.
I said it for you.
You did. Thank you.
Oh shit. All right. Just fine.
But I want to say that just because it's time that we begin to clean up. Okay. And in order for us to clean up, we have to expose some things. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to expose something, the good, the bad, the ugly. Because everybody, it isn't all terrible, but some of our it's is a little terrible. And we're going to deal with the terrible it's, okay? Yes. But we're also going to deal with the terrible it's and the road that I believe is to healing, the road to recovery, the road to real restoration. Because there is a road to that. And we all are approaching it in different stages. So, Gary, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And like I said earlier, thank you for truly rocking out with me through all of the technical difficulties. Who knew I had to use my good Samsung, okay, as a mobile hotspot to get this thing jumping? But I truly do appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that actually, took the time to actually listen through all my good technical difficulties. I apologize to y'all. Next week, we will be back. We will be better, and we will be restored thanks to the internet getting its act together, okay?
Come on, Comcast. Get it right.
All right. But definitely tune in next week. Next week, we have a very special guest that will be on with me. She actually has a book out. It's on Amazon. It is called Touched. It is a wonderful book. I read it, and it truly was jaw-dropping, but it also was very inspiring and very encouraging and enlightening, right? Her name is Chanel T. Smith, Dr. Chanel T. Smith. She will be with me next week. And we're on this, it's in the church, and we're on this road to healing. That's what we're on. So thank you, everybody. The following week, we're going to have a special treat. I believe that's going to be, I think that's the 19th. We'll have a special treat that is coming for the 19th.
We love that.
Yes. We love special treats.
We love a treat. We love a good brownie.
Listen, sure do. The 19th is going to be a special treat. You guys will know about it once we get kind of closer to the date, because it's going to be special. And then on the 26th, we are going to be with another special guest, Dr. David Glover. When I tell you, when I thought about this topic, and the Lord began to send people to me in order to who would be instrumental in discussing this topic, Dr. Chanel T. Smith and Dr. David Glover, they were so willing to come, and I really appreciate that. And then I contacted Gary, and I was like, I think it's time that you give your own self a voice, and I want us to do this with just you and I. Let's do this. Let's talk. And I appreciate Gary coming on and talking and doing what he does best, because sometimes it's easy to live within a shadow, and it's hard to come out and be you and stand. So, this will not be the last time that y'all hear from Gary, because even like Gary said, there were a lot that he did not share, which I am appreciative of, because everything cannot be exposed all at one time. You have to do things in the timing and in the season for which they are meant to be done. And what he discussed today really was a shell of what he has experienced, and the way in which he had to go about healing even from just being a pastor's child, being part of the first family in the church, and understanding that people are going to ridicule you, people are going to test you, people are going to try you, and you have to come out pretty much almost perfect from every test, every trial. And a lot of that is due to the fact that, I don't know, for some odd reason in our good church world, we put so much stigma and so much prioritization on the pastor's family, which I just think is utterly ridiculous, in my own personal opinion. I believe that we've taken a worldly concept that is built based out of the White House and put it into the church house.
Come on.
And I think that needs to be done away with. You know, the pastor's family is just that, just the pastor's family. PK is not a title. First lady is not a title. None of those things are titles. But for some odd reason, we've made them into one, and then we idolize them. It's utterly ridiculous. And I believe that if we stop with the idolization of the pastor's family, then the pastor's family would be free enough to heal, and they wouldn't have to deal with so much ridicule. Because the truth of the matter is, because the people talk about the pastor's kids, then the pastor ends up having to get on his own kids, you know? So I just believe that we just need to stop all of that. And what better way to stop it than with realization, to say,
Come on.
I don't need to live up to your standard, because it's a false standard anyway. And that's that. And now we move forward, you know, from false standards, you know. Absolutely. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank y'all for rocking out with the Muzzle Is Off podcast. Thank y'all for just bearing with me through all the technical difficulties tonight. Definitely tune in next week on the 12th, on the 19th, and on the 26th, because we're not stopping. We're going to keep plowing and moving forward. Have a great night, everybody, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.